Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So, welcome to the Poison Honey podcast, where we discuss the better truths of life with raw vulnerability, honesty, and a dash of humor. Today, I have Cyndee with me. Welcome, Cyndee.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Good. Life is great.
Yeah.
Well, life is life. I should put it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life is lifing.
Yeah.
So, if you want to introduce yourself to the audience and also share the story that you would like to share with us today.
Um. Well, my name is Cyndee Dhalai, and how should I put it? I've had many roles. I've been a child, a sister, a teacher, a wife, a mother, a patient, a widow, and now I'm a writer and a poet. And I also do other things on the side, like I do some counseling and stuff like that with people otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing all of these things, like you're a writer and poet, like what inspired you to go this route of being a writer and a poet?
Actually, I've always written in my mind, you could say that, because but I never really put it on paper. And poetry is more my thing than actual writing novels and stuff like that. But then, well, I guess a lot of things happened in my life. You know, I got sick and stuff like that. Well, my body got sick. I don't say I'm sick. I said my body got sick.
Yeah.
And then I lost my husband, and we were married for like a long time. And then I had to deal with that. And after that, I lost somebody else who was very close to me. And that kind of compounded everything. And then I kind of thought I was managing. And the only way I know to like deal with stuff is through writing. Because you can have a lot of people telling you things and giving advice and stuff like that. But until you really face yourself and you deal with things inside of you, then you're never really gonna manage. I don't say heal, I say manage to put everything in place and to like take steps forward and find a way to create space around what you lost and the changes in your life. And I started writing because I thought I was managing, to be honest with you. Because given everything that happened in my life before with all the like different episodes, you know, and we all have those things, you know, your battles, your periods of self-doubt, rejection, ostracism, criticism, you get the negativities that you face all over. And we all deal with loss, because if you ever lost a job, if you lost a best friend, if you had to relocate, that's a loss also, or a pet or a family member, or you suffered a divorce or a relationship broke up. So we all suffer loss. So, I mean, these are all the barons we go through in life. I call them barons.
Barons?
You know, your battles, barons, yeah, like your battles, rejection, ostracism, negativity, and self-doubt. Those are all the things we face in life. I mean, face it, no matter who you are, everybody faces those things. And and to me, it was like, you live with yourself 24 hours a day.
Yes.
So in your mind, you are battling yourself 24 hours a day. You are advising yourself 24 hours a day. And even when you're asleep, your dreams will manifest itself as something that is bothering you or something you hope for. So my mind got kind of filled. And I said, listen, this is too much. And the only way I know to really sort things out within me is to write. And I sat down, and in 1 month, I wrote the book. And everything just came out, because as I started writing, it was like, it just flowed. And that's when my book, Grief is a Price You Pay for Love, came out. And it got published last year. And that kind of like, because I found out that a lot of people don't understand grief and loss to a certain extent. We think we do, And we get all this advice from people, and you go online, and there are probably thousands and thousands of things that will give you, okay, do this step, practice this thing, do this meditation,
Yeah.
talk to, do all these things. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't make, because I had friends like telling me and sending me all these books and stuff like that, and sending me all these links. Look at this, Cyndee. Look at that, Cyndee.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not me. Because the only way I could actually come to terms with it and like create a space around it and yet live was to face myself and face what I felt inside. And that's how it came up. And that's how I started writing. Though I did start writing poetry first, which was in 2022. Somebody asked me a question, somebody who was very, very close to me. And he asked me a question. And he said, this is what I want you to focus on. Just focus on this question and give me an honest answer.
Yeah.
And write it to me. And what came out was a poem. And then I just wrote poetry. And in 2023, I published a poetry book.
Wow. So I think you touched upon a couple of interesting things that I want to pick at. The first one was that you don't use healing, but managing. Do you want to explain a bit more about that?
Okay, because when things happen, okay, if you get a cut on the outside, you get a scar. Yeah. And that you heal, you can actually heal from it. Your body has a way, because our body has a natural, nature has these systems in place for natural progression. So if you get a cut on your hand, it heals, you get a scar on the outside, and you can see the scar and okay, that's taken care of, it's done. Yeah. But when you get a cut on the inside of you that affects your minds, your emotions, your feelings, you get a scar, yes, but it remains with you, because if you do reflection and you look at things as if, okay, this happened to me before, fine, I did this process, I talked to friends, yes, yeah. I'm good, I can get over it, I'm over it, I'm all healed. And then you go through something else, and even if it's like, okay, let's say you suffer a breakup with someone, right? And it hurt you very, very much. And then you get angry and you say, okay, no, I'm not going to let this come into my life again and stuff like that. Now, anger is a form of defense because you are really repressing what you're feeling. Yeah. And so you tell yourself, well, I got over that. That doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm stepping forward. I'm doing a new thing now. Yeah, you do your new thing. And then you meet someone else and one little thing, like you get a little disappointment, they're supposed to do something for you and they don't do it. And you say, how could this happen? And then you go back into the cycle and you realize that I didn't really heal it. Yeah. Because the same thing comes up inside of you. And you go back to all the things that happen, all the times disappointed, and all the times that people let you down or you got hurt. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't a boyfriend or maybe it wasn't a partner, but you go back to when your friends let you down, or when your parents let you down, or when a coworker was mean to you. And all these things, and you realize that you're not healed. You have to learn to manage in that way. And when I manage, I mean, you learn to recognize, okay, I got hurt. It was a bad experience. Mm-hmm. You learn to agree with it in that, okay, this is how things turned out. Different people, this was that side, this is my side. This is how it affected me. And then you have to learn, when you agree with it, accept it, then you have to learn to agree. And agreeing with something means that you tell yourself, it's kind of like you step back, observer of the incident, and you say, this happened, it hurt a lot. I didn't like it. It probably wasn't fair. Or maybe I was the one who was unfair. But that was up in part life, and it taught me a lesson. And I know that it will come up again, but I'm okay with it. And there's a lot more in life that I can see. And it's a memory I will treasure, whether it's good or bad, because there were some good things in it. And that's how you learn to manage. And that's why I say you manage, you don't heal really. Now, a lot of people are probably going to say, yes, you can heal, and this, you can move forward and something bad happens.
Yeah.
Don't you find yourself in the same situation again? It may be different, but you've experienced the same emotion. So
Yeah. The
you have
feeling
to learn
comes
to
up.
manage. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
So that's
agree
why I say
with you.
manage.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even though I use the word healing, I might could reconsider now after this discussion. But
Yeah.
I do recognize that you're never fully like healed in a sense that you
Mm-hmm.
are that same person before that happens, because I've experienced it myself where I think, oh, I'm fine, I'm like I accept this, and then something happens that I say has similar energy or is giving me similar vibes to that one situation, and it just triggers everything again, and I'm super emotional, and
Yeah.
I'm sometimes more emotional about that first time than whatever happened now,
Yeah.
because it's that core wound of what happened then. And I think since then I've learned a lot of things, and I've learned to react differently to the situation. But that first one will always hurt because I wasn't able to apply all of the things that I know now to it, and I can never really
Yeah.
change it the way that it happened. So that for me is, yeah, I completely understand what you say with managing and the concept of managing, and in that sense.
Yeah. So that's what that's what you kind of have to do, because like we think of grief as a messy thing, because like I mentioned, grief comes from a loss of something. And one of the things, well, this in terms of, if I'm speaking about like love,
Yeah.
and the most courageous thing you can do as a person is love someone. And I remember someone asked me, why do you say the most courageous thing you can do is love someone? And I said, well, think about it. You can climb a mountain, but that's a physical thing.
Yeah.
You can achieve a goal, but that's more of your actions, your physical actions. And yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
mental and stuff like that. But when you love somebody, you give a part of yourself to somebody, you connect to another person, and you give emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally. You
Yes.
give part of yourself. And from the instant you give, you realize that as you love someone, you could also lose them, because we're humans.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Maybe they won't leave you, maybe, they won't disappoint you, but remember, they're still mortals like you.
Yeah.
So you take losing someone in any sense.
Yeah.
So love is the most big, and that love comes from you. It isn't an external, like you're giving someone a present. It isn't like if you're buying somebody something, you are giving someone a part of you. And that is the most courageous thing you can do, is when
Yeah.
you give someone a part of yourself. So, like when we're speaking about loss in that sense, is that we connect to people. Even if you love your pet and you lose your pet and your pet
Right.
dies or goes missing,
Yeah.
I mean, you're a mess.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
true.
because of your connection. And that's what it is. Love is the most courageous thing you can do, whether it's a person or another living creature.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I can understand that. And I was thinking, as you said, you give a piece of yourself to someone that it's almost as if when either whatever it is, whether they leave or they die, that piece of you goes with them because you don't,
yes,
that I used to say in the past that I have how I behave with one friend is not the other way when I behave with another friend. And it's not that I'm being inauthentic, but it's just that space that we created,
connection. Yeah.
that we created
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And it's like I can't, if that person dies or leaves, then or we're not in contact anymore, then that also dies, because I'm not gonna have that same connection with someone else. So yeah, it's very vulnerable to love someone and to connect with people in that sense. Or as you said, even with pets. And um yeah, I think pets is especially difficult sometimes because they live even less than
Yeah.
than humans.
And like you see, it all depends sometimes on your level of connection too. So
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, we all have to realize loss is a part of life. And even if you have a job, and you may love your job, or you may find your job just a job, something you have
Yeah.
to do to get money. If you lost your job, you might say, okay, well, yeah, I didn't like it anyway, but you still feel it
Yeah.
because you had a connection to it, and you will still grieve it, and you will still go through emotions connected to it. So it does have an impact on you.
Mm-hmm.
So we experience loss in many, many different ways. And even if you have to move from like one place to another,
Yeah.
like you have to relocate for a job, whether you have to move out of your old house and go to a new house, you do experience a sense of loss in that was familiar to you. That was something that
Yeah.
you know, you were comfortable with. That was your comfort zone then, in a sense. So we do experience loss in a lot of ways, and we may not recognize it as a loss. We may just say, "Oh, I miss my place. I miss where I
Mm-hmm.
used to be. I miss my old job." And because you had some connection, maybe you had colleagues there who you liked. You may not have liked the job, but you had colleagues you liked, so you
Yeah.
kind of missed that connection.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And what would you say? Um, how can we learn to manage loss and grief better?
Okay, first, grief, especially if it relates to like a connection you had with someone. And this is speaking like about a breakup or a loss of a friendship or loss of connection or somebody actually passing away.
Yeah.
It's messy and it's unpredictable, and it has a range of emotions that doesn't really follow a set pattern.
Yeah.
Because I remembered when people were talking to me, yeah, you're going to be angry, you're going to be in denial, this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay. But, I don't think it comes in stages, because it can happen. One day you can be feeling, okay, I'm good. Everything is
Yeah.
working out fine. I'm managing today. And then you hear a song, or you go and you get something, or you go to a place you used to go with somebody else before,
Yeah.
or you go outside, or you see something that looks familiar, and your brain, remember, you can't control it. This is your emotions, and it's very hard to control emotions. And you suddenly find yourself in a spin, and then you keep thinking, oh no, this shouldn't be happening to me. And then you find yourself going down and down and down and being pulled. You're sad,
Mm-hmm.
you feel the loss. Tons. So there's no set, how should I put it, panacea or fix it, or one thing fix all.
Yeah.
And what you have to do is, first, is like, what I find is that you have to accept it. And yes, we say we accept grief. Yes, well, the person is gone and you do know their physical presence is not there anymore. You accept it on that level, but then inside you don't really accept it, because part of you keeps thinking, oh, maybe they may come back, or maybe
Yeah.
something would happen, or maybe I'm in a dream, or whatever. But you have to sit, and this is why we spend 24 hours with ourselves. And the only way we can learn to do anything is your own self.
Yeah.
And people talk about journaling, which does help, because it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel the grief. It's okay to cry. It's okay. There is nothing wrong with crying. There's nothing wrong with getting angry. There's nothing wrong with wanting it to be different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the more you allow yourself every time it happens, you're going to find yourself, instead of suffering the loss or being affected by the loss of someone, you're going to find yourself going into self-pity, which is totally different from feeling grief.
Yeah.
And once you go into that self-pity, you become more focused on finding a space where you tell yourself, this is not fair. I didn't deserve this. Why did this have to happen to me? I hate my life. I should never. And you find all these excuses and all these reasons. And, you kind of get pulled down. And the more you do it, the deeper and deeper and deeper you get pulled down. And the harder and harder it is for you to realize. Now, when you lost a mate, whether it's a friend or a loved one, a breakup of a relationship, what you have to see is that there was a we. There was a you and a me, and it was we. But now you are not here anymore. So it's just me.
Yeah.
And you have to face that in yourself, that, okay, this is me. That absence of the person who was in my life is real, because I can't see them anymore. I can't talk to them. They're not a physical part of my life then. They are inside of me because we have memories together. And it's important, like when you feel the absence of someone, or you feel, or memories come up, you honor the memories, yes, because I'm sure you have good ones of the person. So you honor those memories and you allow yourself to feel the emotions. But like, what you should do is set like a little timer, a clock or something or whatever, and say, okay, this is coming up now, and maybe I will feel it, but I'm not going to allow myself to be put down into that abyss all the time, because remember, I still have a life. I still have things to see about. I might have my home to see about. I might have my job. I might have kids. You have other things that you are still part of your life that are present.
Yeah.
And you kind of set a timer. Maybe it's a half an hour. And when it goes off, you tell yourself, okay, all right, it's going to be harder. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy to do it, because it's going to be like you're tempted, like, when you fall asleep and you don't want to get up, you just press the snooze button. Yeah.
Yes.
But, it's going to take time, right? And another thing is like journaling, is like writing. You write what thoughts come into your head.
Yes.
And then after, when you finish it now, and then another time when you go back and you read it over, you could say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is what is happening to me. This is what it feels like. Yes. These are my feelings at that time, and how I accept how I feel, and I appreciate, the fact that I feel the loss. But how can I learn now to deal with it and keep that loss in me, and at the same time recognize that I am still present and I'm still here? And how can I find a way to create space around that loss? And okay, that's one thing. So you set a timer to kind of, put yourself where you don't go down into self-pity. That journaling, which is another thing. You can also start when you find yourself going deep, deep, deep into it. And so most times when you find it's either nighttime or when you're by yourself,
right,
it'll happen a lot. Just get up and walk around, whether it's whatever space you have, if you can go outside.
Yeah.
And just look around at other things. And for a few minutes, just pay attention to something that is around you. Whether it's a picture on a wall, if you go outside, look at the sky, look at something. So you kind of deflect your mind from your feelings. And the thing is, and describe it out loud. It may sound strange to talk to yourself, but you talk to yourself anyway in your head. So it isn't really that different.
Yes.
And you describe something like you say, okay, hey, that flower looks nice, and look at the colors. And I didn't see that before. And you pay closer attention. Look at the shape of the leaves. Look at the way the petals are. Look at the potted in. Look at the dirt, or if you're walking around, look at your feet. Pay attention to your breathing. It's okay. All right. And so you kind of, what you do in a sense is you distract yourself.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And also another way you can do it is like talk to people. Mention things. Talk to them. Now, sometimes what you would find happening is that people do get tired of you always
Oh yeah.
talking about, yeah, well,
Yes.
you should be over that by now. That happened 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Why are you still
yeah,
talking about it? You should be at a different stage. Now, whilst that is true in that you either are complaining, always complaining and feeling sorry for yourself, which is the self-pity thing I was talking about,
yeah.
or it could be that people expect you, especially if they don't understand. Remember, everybody feels grief differently. And
Mm-hmm.
they might think, well, no, you should have gotten that by now, stop about it. I'm tired of hearing about it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But then remember, you can tell them and say, yes, I understand that you're tired of hearing about it. But these are my feelings and I want to honor the person, especially somebody who passed away,
yeah,
and it's a loss that it's not if you had a breakup in a relationship or something or whatever. This is like if in case of a permanent, I should put, absence.
mm,
And you can tell the person, listen, I understand that, but I also want to honor the memory of that person because I'm not going to do their existence because they were part of my life and
yeah,
they did have an impact in my life and we did create memories. And I understand that maybe you get tired of me talking about the person or whatever, but I want to honor them because they had an impact on me.
yeah,
And so that's what you do. You can mention it, or if you see something, say, oh, I remembered when we did this and, the person said this or whatever. And you keep it short. Of course, you don't have to go into this long, whatever, but,
right, yeah,
but at least you recognize in yourself that you had memories and you treasure it also and you hold on to the person.
yeah,
But that way, you have kind of outlet for expressing piece of what is inside of you. And I remember it's always important to speak out loud, or even if you're by yourself and you do something and you said, well, nah, you can say, oh, I remembered when we bought this. And you can talk to yourself about it and you can remember. And you find yourself sometimes laughing at memories. Even if you're by yourself, you find yourself laughing or smiling because you have like something funny you associate with it or whatever.
yeah,
Or you're inside you feel a sense of, happiness and contentment because a peace then sometimes. Because this is what we did. This is what we achieved. We got this. We worked hard and we got this together. Or we went to this place and we had so much fun. There's nothing wrong with that. So you have to allow yourself to acknowledge things that happen in your life too.
yeah. I think
And
some
this is the way you
people,
do it.
I had two thoughts on when you said like some people get tired of it. I think some people have kind of this mindset, oh, I need to live in the now and, look in front, and the past is the past. And I think this in itself could be their way of managing their grief or whatever that happened in the past. And some people maybe similarly are triggered by having to think in the past, and perhaps there's something in their own past that they don't want to think about. So when someone is maybe fondly remembering their past, that can also be something within themselves that they are trying to block out and manage in that way. But yeah, I think it's important to honor those people that were part of our lives. We in my household, we honor my grandma all the time. She, let's say, I met her, or I was born when she was 90, and so I knew her before 90 and 99. And she's actually not my biological grandma, but she raised my mom. But we remember her all the time. Like, I still have a plate of hers that she used to eat in, and I've since I've come back home, I've been eating in that plate consistently. It's become my plate.
Yeah.
So, and as you said, funny things, like, for example, she would call like Subway, like the sandwiches Subway. She would call it Soppy Way, which is funny. So it's like these little things that we mentioned, or like, oh, I'm gonna go to Subway, and that in a way to honor her memory, and also she gave us this house that we live in, so we can't really
Forget.
forget her. Yeah.
You
So
know,
yeah,
so it's good. I'm like, I do understand when you say, like, some people talk about the fact that, your past is gone and you have to live in now and look forward. But okay, it's like a coin. If you were to make a coin, how many pieces would you need? I mean, physically make a coin, like
yeah.
iron smith. How many pieces would you need? You
I
would need
think
three pieces. Well, most people say you need three pieces: a
yeah,
front, a back, and the rim.
yeah.
But actually, you need five pieces. You don't need three pieces. Most people say, okay, we have a past, we have a present, and we have a future, which are three pieces, the coins of life.
Yeah.
But what we forget is that our life is not made up of just three stages: past, the past, the present, and the future. Because our past runs into our present.
Yeah.
So you need a piece or that that connection, because our past, it doesn't shape our present, but it does influence how our present is and how we see our present.
Right.
And our present will shape to a certain extent how our future turns out.
Yeah.
So you can't erase your past or just say, okay, well, that's the past, and it's over and it's done with. Because you wouldn't be the person you are now if it was not for things that happened in the past.
Right.
No, I'm not saying dwell on the past and, remember all these things that happened, whatever. No. What I'm saying is that sometimes you have to use the past as a springboard, yes.
Yeah.
But you are only present where you are now because of what you did in the past. And your mindset is made up of what happened in your past. The hard things you learn in life, the lessons, and also the good things you learn in life, because the past made this version of you. And the version you are here now is working towards creating the version you will be tomorrow, because the person you are today will not be the person you are tomorrow, because you're not going to get up and do things identically the same way again.
No.
So your past has a part in your formation, and you can't bury the past. No matter how much you try, nobody can bury the past. But you have to be selective about where you focus on the past, yes. And you don't repress things inside of you that, okay, well, that was my experience, and this happened and that happened, and I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
That's over and done with.
I think even if, now that you're saying that, I think even if we look at like a global scale and like global history, that is still the truth, because I would not be sitting here in this shape with the specific genetics that I have in the Caribbean had it not been for like the transatlantic slave the trade. And I think similarly, West Indians also came.
That's it.
As
I wouldn't be in this country, in this place, if it hadn't been for things that happened in history. And I notice a lot of people are trying to rewrite history and say, well, different, or this was done. And I'm like, you cannot rewrite history to suit yourself.
Right.
These are things that actually happened. These are things that occurred. And maybe we were not born in that lifetime, but this is what shaped to where we are. Right. And we want to rename everything. And we want to say, well, this or whatever. But at the time these things happened, that was how society was. I mean, it's totally different now. Things have grown to such an extent that now you can't really look at someone and see, even if you were to say something, you can't say, well, okay, this person is like this way, because you don't know. You don't know the mix. Right?
Right.
And like, I wouldn't be where I am if it hadn't been for slavery and indentureship. And then colonization and all these things, and
Yeah.
then fight independence and stuff like that, and changes in government or whatever.
Right.
And that is how we came to be here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then a lot of people would not be like working at the jobs they work at or being exposed to the cultures they have if it had not been for changes that took place. And we have to accept that the past is,
Yeah.
in a way, it does shape the whole of society because
Yeah.
people had to take action and people had to have certain ideas for it to evolve into this, into how it is right now.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's we were talking about that. I had like this
Yeah.
idea, like we literally would not be like both of us in the Caribbean right now without this being and yeah, as you said, some people try to rewrite that or they try to erase it even and or
Mhm.
don't want to talk about it. Like for example, my Dutch citizenship has been a touchy subject sometimes with like Dutch people, like European Dutch people, because it's some don't want to hear. Like, yes, I have sure my passport is Dutch, but y'all kind of colonized us. That's why,
Yeah.
but they don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
So,
that is it. Like they don't want to hear the fact that, okay, I remember I went to Canada when I was 16, right? And at that time, like this was in like the 1980s or whatever, right?
mm,
And I went to Canada. And the people were there, and like I had really, really long hair, you know, and I looked totally Indian
yeah,
at the time. And I was walking around, and these like Caucasians walking around also, and they kept saying Paki. And I had no idea what, no, I am from the Caribbean. I don't know what a Paki
right,
is, right?
yeah,
And so I said, well, so I stopped, and I'm kind of like, if I want to know something, I'll ask you.
hmm,
I'm not afraid. Like I never knew that, right? So I just
yeah,
said, I said, what do you mean by Paki? They said, oh, you don't, how come you sound like that? So I said, well, I'm from the Caribbean. I don't want to. I said, what is Paki? And they said, well, oh, those are for Pakistan. So I said, well, I'm definitely not from Pakistan,
no,
you know? And then they said, oh, I said, well, why did you tell me that? Why did you call me Paki?
yeah,
And then like they were young people. So they kind of just rushed away and things like that. So then when I went and I asked my uncle and my aunt, they said, oh no, they regard most Indian people, most
mm,
Caucasians and Indians, if you're not mixed, regard most Indian people as Pakistanis and they call them Paki. So I said, but that is disrespectful because, I mean,
right,
people look like me and they come from all parts of the world. And you can tell by my voice that I'm definitely not from Pakistan or from India.
yeah,
I don't have an accent like that. And that was my first real incidence of discrimination and being judged according to my race.
hmm,
And I didn't like it because it was like, it was meant to be belittling, but to me, it was more like, okay, I learned something. People think that, okay, because I look like this,
yeah,
or whatever, because my country is very multicultural in that we
yeah,
have different races, different ethnicities, different religions, and everybody tend to mix together. And things may crop up at certain times. And yes, there will be people who carry some of it inside of them. I mean, that's
yeah,
a fact of life, right? But what I've always known my whole life is that integration with everybody else, that's how
yeah.
it's been with me.
Yeah, I think it's similar here that we have all kinds of different ethnicities and nationalities mixed
Yeah.
together. And I myself, I don't know my complete mix. And I'm happy that I'm happy that my
Yeah.
mom knows about her grandma, which is native Venezuelan. That I know that part for certain. I kind of guess African by my hair because it's very African
Yeah.
textured hair, right? But I don't know what else I could be mixed with. And I think that's especially in the Caribbean, we're very, very, very mixed. I don't know of many
Yeah.
other
Listen, we have a touch of everything.
yeah,
Portuguese, Spanish, French.
Right.
East Indian, Africa. You have Chinese also. You have Syrian. So some people, I mean, you have such a mix of races.
Yeah.
And like, if you were to check back sometimes, whatever you find, your grandparents may look one way, but they have different mixes in them. And when you put all those things into it, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you can't say for sure, like one person, because they look a certain way, is this ethnicity or belong to this generation or this class of people.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Yeah, that's true. I hope that was a lesson for the youngsters in Canada that you spoke to, not to judge people like by the looks. And yeah, I think we went off the track a little bit. As we were talking about.
I think we did. Yeah. We were talking about this thing. Yeah.
But the point was that it's important to recognize history, whether it being like the broader global history, which we just talked about, or like your own personal history of things that you went through, to recognize, honor it, and also give it a place in your present, because it does shape you and who you are now. Is that a good summary, Cyndee?
Yes, it is. That's very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we have to realize is that human experiences, we are all imperfectly human. So we are going to get experiences that will color our lives. Some may be deeply impactful, some may not be deeply impactful. And it's how we manage ourselves, it's how we look at it through our own eyes. And that is something I find very, very important, in that we get all this barrage of things coming out of some society. One day you're supposed to be like this, the next day you're supposed to be like this. One day you're supposed to be doing this, the next day. And I have been asking all the time, everybody I speak to, who is the day who is supposed to dictate and say that, okay, you're doing this wrong and you're supposed to follow these rules, or you're supposed to, if you want a job, you have to do these certain things. If you want to be popular on this site, you have to do these things. And I keep asking, I say, who is D?
Yeah.
Who is D?
Right.
Who is the D who's telling me that, okay, if you want to be a writer, that, you have to go through these certain companies and pay for these things and do these things. And you have to write only certain things because this is what appeals to people. Who is the D? And I was asking, who is the D? Where these ideas come from? Get these ideas about, we have to follow these things in order to achieve these things. Why can't we look through our own eyes sometimes and realize that I am an individual?
Yeah.
I am not a clone. Yes, we have rules in society because that's how we have law and order, and that's how we work together as one people, and we keep our values and our similarities and stuff like that, right? Yeah. But at the same time, our personalities and what we are inside is uniquely ours. And I think a lot of young people need to recognize that sometimes, that you are yourself. And you should never let life experiences or other people's opinion dictate or regulate your dreams or regulate who you are. Yes, you will integrate a lot of things from like your parents or the people who you are friends with or connect with. But at the same time, you also have a brain in your head which tells you that this is right and this is wrong. And you can develop your own values and beliefs, because where you come from or the family you grew up in should not also dictate who you are and what you believe in. Because sometimes people may come from a background which is not good, and where they get criticized a lot, or where it's very traditional and very strict, and where they see a culture of probably, things happening that are judged as wrong. But that doesn't mean you have to be that way. You can, as time passes and you see more of the world, and now we have social media, so people can, go online and you can look at a whole set of different things, and you can assimilate your own values and say, okay, this is what matters to me. These are my principles. This is how I want to look at life. I don't want to look at life as being colored, because what you have to realize is that you can drink a glass of water. Yes, the glass is empty, right? But if you turn the glass upside down, there's still a drop of water. A drop of water still comes out of it.
Yeah.
Because it shows that no matter how difficult anything gets in life or how many barriers you think you face, there is always a possibility that one drop that you can make something from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I think that's a nice way to round off what we talked about today. And yeah, I think be inspired. I hope this inspires people to really live their truth in a sense, connecting to what you just said, Les, that you shouldn't be bound by the things that happen to you, but you recognize, okay, I come from this background, but it's not me, but you have that space and opportunity to grow and become this person that what fits more for you. And you can find the religion that fits for you, and the way of behavior or whatever it is that you might want to change.
And sometimes you have to, it's all about, we talk about creating a niche. And sometimes you may not fit in a set niche, but you can create your own.
Right.
And you can incorporate things you get from other, like what you see around that you like and you think will have value to your own self and your own life. And remember that you don't have to be like everybody else, because listen, you are not created like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You are you and unique to you. And there are lots of things in life, and you would always feel lost, you'll always feel pain, you'll always feel like criticism. I mean, those are natural part of life, and you are human, so you're obviously gonna feel things and you're obviously gonna react. Yeah. But what you have to do is focus on how you see life through your own eyes. Look at life through your own eyes, not through everybody else's colored lens or what other people have achieved or where they are. Mm-hmm. Because you won't grow at the same rate as else, internally or externally.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we have to realize that we have to value ourselves. Because how often do we ask ourselves the question, how are you today? We ask our friends, how are you today? How are you going? But do you ever ask yourself, how are you today?
You're so right.
I'm not talking about in terms of job or, what you do or something. Just ask yourself, how are you today? What are you feeling in you? I'm tired. Why are you tired? Oh, because I didn't want to do some things or whatever. I slept too late or whatever. Okay. How are you feeling? Oh, I'm kind of fed up with my friends and them. Why are you fed up with your friends and them? And then you kind of work it out inside of you and you get to the point where, you know what? Yeah, my friend and I had a little argument because they wanted to do something I wanted to do. But yeah, they're free to do whatever they want. And this way you settle and you find your peace in you. Because when you talk to yourself, because you are in your head 24 hours a day, as I keep saying.
Yeah.
When you kind of connect to yourself, that's the only way you're going to find your sense of contentment. And that way you can have your own happiness in you so that you don't have to go searching outside for happiness. And that way you learn to manage a lot better who you are as a person. And you learn to respond, not react. Because the more you understand yourself is the more you can give to other people.
Yeah. I think it's important what you just said about learning to respond and not react. There's a lot of times we want to react quickly and kind of in the heat of the moment, and that is when things kind of can go wrong.
But sometimes sometimes what you find, you're having a conversation with your friend, right? But somebody says something, and instead of listening to them, you are so busy thinking about something
Yeah.
you want to ask them or something you want to add that happened to you, and you're
Mm.
not really paying attention. So you have to learn to be present in a conversation. Listen. Yes, your brain is working on things or whatever, but listen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, and you do that when you sit down with yourself and you ask yourself, how am I feeling? Because you have to listen to yourself. You can't avoid it. It's
Right.
like if you just say, okay, shut up or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to listen to yourself because it's going to keep coming in your head anyway. So that's what you do. So when you learn to listen to yourself and listen to what your thoughts are, that way you begin to go down and you learn to not react. So when you're talking to someone, you can listen to what they're saying, the actual words they're saying, and you don't just hear. And part of your brain is thinking about, yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I have to go to the grocery in a little bit, or
Yeah.
I have this call to connect, or this thing happened at work. So you're not listening. And I think that's where we kind of lose real connection and real value we give to people.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your story, Cyndee, and your wisdom of how to um, manage. I wanted to say deal with
Very good.
how to
Yes.
manage grief and loss, and other I guess pain that we can encounter in life, and also about how to um, give all of you a space. I would say the past you and the present you, and think in a sense even like the potential that you have to be, but you need to recognize all of these little pieces that make up that coin, as you were saying
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. You have to connect. You have to cut the pieces, and you have to connect the whole thing together because you are a whole.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I completely agree. I don't have nothing else to add to that. Otherwise, it would be like you were saying, thinking to react. But yeah, I think you summed it up beautifully. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience before we close off?
Well, okay, the only thing I want to talk about is the fact that, well, I have 2 books on Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's called poetry. It was a poetry book. It's called Pieces of Me, Touch My Soul by Cyndee.
Yeah.
And the other is a book called Grief is the Price You Pay for Love. Run into the fire, discover me in the ashes. And that was written under pseudonym Faye Allion. And
Hey,
both are
Elliot.
available. Yeah, and both are available on Amazon.
Okay.
And you can check them out and stuff like that. And because they would be very helpful, because it's kind of like what we spoke about here, except it's more detail and stuff like that about, dealing with loss. And like a few people who have read the book and gotten back to me, like people where I live and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They have said that, and even on Amazon, if you check the reviews, like people have said it connected to them in a way that they thought they felt isolated, but it did help them a lot and stuff like that. So people can check out the books there on Amazon.
Okay, I will add the links as well because I think you send them
I sent
in
you
the email.
the links for both
Yeah.
of them.
So for anyone listening or watching later, I will put those in the description of the video or audio section.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you again for joining me. I had a lovely time talking to you about this concept of grief and management of grief, and you've given me a lot to chew on. So I'll be like thinking about this like throughout the day. And until next time on the Poison Honey podcast. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Stop.